Do we only love God for the benefits of our relationship with Him? That's the big question that has been kind of rolling around in my mind lately. And a story that I think kind of talks to this question or issue is the story of David and Bathsheba in 2 Samuel 12. You remember David was declared a man after God's own heart. And yet, we also read of the horrible sin of David and how he sinned against God and Uriah and his family and the whole nation of Israel, with this adulterous situation and act with Bathsheba. Um, you know, but then David is confronted by the prophet Nathan. And when David should have been executed, instead, God has mercy on him and forgives him and spares David. But God declares he's going to take the life of the baby. And I quote, "Because by this deed you have greatly scorned the Lord." End quote. So what does David do? Well, he does what any parent would do. He, while the child was still alive but he was very sick, he sought the Lord. He sought him for 7 days, fasting and praying and pleading for the child's life. And when it was revealed to David by his servants that the child was dead, the fasting and praying and pleading stopped. And David rises up from the floor, you remember, and he washes and anoints himself and changes his clothes, and then he goes into the house of the Lord and worships God. Now, this is amazing to me. But he does. And why do you think he done that? Because he knew who God is. There was never any question in David's mind whether God loved him or not. And I think people deal with that today, whenever they're going through some hard things, some trials and tribulations. They wonder if God even loves them. I've done that. Have you? Well, he knew that God loved him. He also knew that God is holy and that God is righteous and God is just and God is sovereign. And above all, he knew that God knew what God was doing. See, he had a trust with God. He had a trust in God. And to be a believer is to believe that and to trust God before, during, and after the time of your affliction, your pain, and your fiery trial, and your tribulation. To trust him with your life. To trust him with your children's lives. With everything you have. This means I'm not going to love God only when he does for me what I want him to do or gives to me what I want him to give to me. Until our love for God is a love for who he is rather than for the benefits we receive from his hand, we have not understood what the gospel is. When we love God because of his perfection, and because of his holiness, because of his majesty, because of who he is, then when he withdraws a gift from us, it will not make him any less lovely or any less worthy of my adoration or yours, or any, it won't cause us to lose our devotion to him. We don't only love him if he protects us or protects our family, our children, our being, our health, our prosperity, our freedom, and our comfort. But we worship him and trust him and love him and honor him if he in his sovereignty takes what he has given to us. We love him in all things, and we are content in every situation. You know, the proper response is, and I know a lot of people don't like this, but the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. This is true trust. This is true trust. You know, we're allowed to mourn. We're allowed to grieve. We're encouraged to mourn. And grief is a virtuous emotion. On the other hand, self-pity, bitterness, tantrums, these are sinful responses. You know, the big question is, what would ever make us think that we're immune from suffering and from death? I mean, we do read the Bible, don't we? The scriptures tell us not only that we might suffer, but that we surely will suffer. David said of the child, his baby, I can't bring him back, but I can go to him. Remember that? David understood more in his time than most today the word spoken by Paul in Romans 8:18. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. See, even if we must suffer for a season, the term of it is short compared to eternity. James 4:14 says, Yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You are just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. See, these are hard sayings, but this is true trust. And do we love him only when it suits us? You know, when we're experiencing the fullness of all these benefits, or do we love him always and trust him? See, love is manifested by our trust. We don't need to forget this. But take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt.